Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up, DB?
Hi.
How you doing?
That was a quickie.
Which one?
Shane's intro.
I know.
I mean, we're under a minute.
It's like we don't have as many sports going on, or he doesn't care about Copa America or anything.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk Georgia.
Man.
Dude, knockout round, Shane.
What an upset.
Round of six, kinda.
Georgia over Portugal?
Listen, I get the goofy look and the head tilt, but let's not act like Portugal only played 3 of their starters. They did.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it's by world rankings. It's
I'm well aware of numbers.
It's a big deal.
I'm well aware of numbers.
I've got a clip from it.
Do you? You wouldn't have that language.
No. I don't even recognize what
Speaking
that language
Georgia
is.
No, I mean, yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, and to think that just a day earlier you had what would have currently been the largest upset in terms of rankings.
Yeah, right.
So not to be outdone, but yeah, I mean, I get it. It's great. Not discounting.
It's pretty cool for them.
Yeah, it's bigger. Not discounting that.
I'm just saying.
I'm not discounting that, but Portugal, who had already qualified, apparently. I don't know. I just think Ronaldo rather kick water bottles when he's pouting.
Actually play?
Yeah. Although he was held scoreless, he didn't score a goal in the qualifying rounds. Which
I think that's right.
That's the first. Well, it's the first time ever.
Not really.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was the first time ever.
His first time ever. Not one goal.
That's incredible.
So now he's working on another record, being the oldest to actually score the Euro Cup, because he is. How old is Cristiano Ronaldo?
38.
I am old.
He is 39.
Those guys are getting up there.
Listen, don't let the fact that I don't just play soccer daily. Let this face fool you like I'm not on top of it. I'm on top of it. What else you want to know about the Euro Cup? No, I didn't even know we were going to open with that.
I didn't either. I was just making an offhanded comment because Shane didn't include any soccer in it.
And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm all in. We're talking soccer. No, but knockout round of 16 will be fantastic.
We got Copa America going on right now, too.
Yes, we do.
We got a lot of.
So we got a couple long shots, too. So we got Slovenia, you've got Georgia. And every time we say Georgia, I always think like,
SEC.
I mean, is Beck really going to go one? Is it him or Shedeur Sanders? By the way, I was way on Dion yesterday. Went down the Instagram rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Well, Klatt started it.
What did Klatt do?
So, Klatt's show podcast tweeted out a couple clips. So then I was kind of hooked for a while. And then I was like, let's peruse what else Dion is up to.
Browse.
Yeah.
Surf,
search. Whatever. And
creep on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get my creep game right.
I think that's right.
That's something you'd do. That baseball fan at New York.
No,
I mean, just
I would not do that.
If that was like drinks, would you?
No.
You wouldn't let Kachuk just dump beer on you out of the cup?
Absolutely not.
Did you see that dude?
That's gross.
Yeah. He was just dousing that dude with beer. And
all sticky. I don't want to end up all sticky.
That fan was just like standing underneath the runoff.
Well, he's was a Mets fan. He probably hasn't showered in a while, so.
No, that dude's just elated that the Yankees had lost another series. That's 9 out of 12.
They got hammered a couple times by the Mets too.
They've lost 9 out of their 12 last series.
That's not good.
9 out of their last 12 series. I think I said that correctly.
Kind
of like me saying Hurrdat Media Sports as opposed to Hurrdat Sports Media.
It's media, it's sports, it's all it's all in the same thing.
I guess the first 6 minutes of this is just random facts about miscellaneous sports.
What else do you want to?
I don't know, man. Rain Man is kicking in. You just
full Rain Man mode.
Yeah,
we got.
I mean, what else?
USA Panama tonight.
Yeah, I'm expecting a very low scoring game. I'm gonna go 2-1.
Listen, just get that dub.
Just dub it up.
Just get that dub. I don't care what it looks like.
Dub it up.
I can live with 1-0. I can do whatever.
Yeah. So I was deep in thought just about all the variety of things. The Ronaldo thing got me started.
Okay.
Because first of all, I was like, gosh, he doesn't look 39.
No.
And then I got into this people that just drive me crazy based on their looks, because I was Baylor Sharman hadn't been drafted yet at the time when all this is going through my mind, but I was just looking at people's looks. I'm like, oh my gosh, he does not act or sound like he plays, or he looks exactly like he plays. And so I went into that prejudging thing, and could I get it right? Like, does Dillingham at all give you get buckets, get to the 10 vibes? I mean, dude has some quirky mannerisms.
You want to like talk about guys that their look just doesn't match what they're supposed to be? Is the first pick Richeray?
Yeah.
This is the dumbest thing. I acknowledge that. But like, do you see the way he was holding up his jersey?
Yeah.
He had like little T-Rex hands going.
Bro.
And I'm like, that guy's never going to be any good in the NBA. Instantly. I was like, that guy's a bust. I think I've seen like a couple highlights of this dude. I know nothing about him because he plays in some, random league somewhere. Like he's in the French league and like it's whatever, right? But he's holding this jersey and he's got little T-Rex hands.
The French league or like whatever.
He's got these little T-Rex hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it was weird. It was just kind of the angles that his like shoulders were sloping at, and
how we know right away that's anti-severe.
How his hands were how he was holding his hands, and I was like, nothing about that. It looked like a middle school kid who like is in the growth spurt, and everything he does looks awkward. I was like, bust.
That's kind of how I felt about there. Well, there are a couple guys. I mean, full disclosure. I mean, if we're just going to be prejudiced all the way
100% I am, yeah.
Well, but here's the beauty of it. It wasn't just us, because remember the show, the episode I told you I like, where Pat, the producer, because I listened to on the way in, where he has like these complaints, like things that are getting on his nerves, and he was just. They were busting his chops about how he knew more about the women's draft than he did the men's draft. They were just putting him to the test, and he was failing miserably. And he's not I'm doing a bit guy. Like he really did. He really didn't know. And so Michelle was giving him a hard time. And one of his gripes was, coincidentally, Ravi, is he's a Phillies fan.
Okay.
And he wants Bryce Harper to be the face of baseball.
Okay.
Right. He's clutch. He's this. He's got the. But he said the league won't embrace him being the face of baseball because of his look. And he is nothing like his looks. And I thought it was interesting. So I stayed in the vehicle, and I'm like, I got to hear this, because I'm going back to Baylor's mullet and just all these things. Like all these things went through my mind. Like I looked at Dalton Connect last night, and I listened to every interview, right? It's however many wee hours in the morning. I'm like, you know what, though? Northern Colorado, I probably don't get, although it is kind of a party school, but that is not the vibe that I got from Connect. So anyway, I'm just doing all this in my head. He says, and the Michelle and the crew were kind of agreeing with him, where, because he has the free-flowing hair and the beard, and he's a walking soundbite, like you think he's something that he's not. Like he's kind of this new age cool guy that has a lot of the youth one-liners, but really, if you watch him play, he's as much of a throwback as any superstar the game has. Constantly sliding, hustles, lays his body on the line. Like
there's like a little bit of like a Pete Rose vibe.
Yeah,
a little bit.
But he gives you the look as kind of this pretty boy with the sound bites, that he's like this new age hip kid. And he was trying to. They were kind of not. I don't think it was a hill they wanted to die on. I don't want to misrepresent him, but because of the look, it's not something the league is readily interested in embracing. Now, he said some other silly things, like why would Shohei Ohtani be the face of the league when you can't say one distinguishable thing about him? But I was like, well,
I know a pretty distinguishable thing about
the
him.
National League home run leader, or hitting another leadoff home run, or
very famously robbed by his interpreter. I mean, that's pretty distinguishable.
Yeah, I don't know if you necessarily want that to be the face of the league, but
still distinguishable.
Yeah, 100%. So it was just, I was just going down that. I allowed my mind to sit in like that. Because Shane, I know you have that guy. It's like, why I didn't like Jim Plunkett?
Why?
I like the way he looked.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the fact he's a Raider, I'm like, even when he was like I'm like, that guy can't be good. It's why I couldn't. This is so petty, but right? That's why I didn't like Bradshaw. If I ever could have watched Bradshaw play with a fairly decent helmet, I probably. Okay, fine. It's done.
No, you're good. Because it's funny because I do the same thing.
If I ever could have watched him play with like a fairly decent helmet, I may be able to get past the fact he turned the ball over a ton.
But that's the way they looked in the 70s, though.
No kidding.
I mean, you
you
wouldn't have liked Bob Greasy. You wouldn't have liked anybody. I mean,
I don't lament over anybody in the 70s out that not named Ham or Lambert. Because they look like they were supposed to.
Yeah.
So even Mean Joe Green, I'm like, why is he wearing those forearm pads? But full disclosure, it's because I ended up wearing them because I thought it was cool. I just so happened to be a little scrawny sophomore at Omaha Northwest, and there was no reason to be wearing forearm pads like I was playing in the 70s. So I blame him for that. This will complete the look. So stupid. Just don't.
I used to wear the shooter sleeve.
But don't
playing basketball.
Don't you get into that though?
Oh, 100%.
Like of just judging people like
we're literally doing
with the Nick roll and all that.
Doesn't matter what it is. Like we're just taking truth serums, right? Like I can read like yesterday, which by the way, if you go back and listen to that segment, you're a horrible person.
What do you mean?
You're just a horrible person.
I thought we were just having fun.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do?
What's that?
I'm gonna cash in on that $20 bet, and I'm gonna have you get.
You want two pizzas?
Yep, I want 2 pizzas next Monday.
So you didn't
take that, Ravi.
You didn't like the single bar, and especially the single bar that they moved up and down.
It's terrible look.
You know what we're doing though right now? Exactly what we're doing. We're doing the exact, and I'm doing it too. So I'm not judging.
Yeah,
we are literally doing the exact thing that got every scout fired in Moneyball.
100%.
That's like we're doing the Fabio thing.
No, listen, I'm with you.
But I still do it, and I still kind of believe it.
While I'm being honest, if Angel Reese looked different, I may like her.
Yeah?
Dude, I can't, I'm so shallow. I can't get past the eyelash. Like, why, what are we doing? Like,
you know who was like this for me?
So I'm like that. Like, I'm totally.
You know who was like this for me? And it's a random one. I thought just TJ Huzmanzada was so goofy looking.
Yeah, you know what? It is hard for me to rally with guys with long hair under their helmet.
And it's not just long hair, because then he would take the helmet off and he's a little goofy looking. I'm like, I can't do it.
Do you know how long I wish?
Can't do it.
You know how long I wish Pal Mao would do something with that? and then other people kind of emulated it.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I hate the hair coming out of the helmet.
I hope this doesn't become a thing.
Yeah. I didn't even like it with Larry Fitzgerald. And it was like a different style. Still wasn't a fan.
So what made you bring him up?
TJ Huzmanzada?
No, Fitzgerald.
Because the hair hanging out of the helmet.
Boo.
I love Fitzgerald as a player, but I hated the hair hanging out.
Yesterday on, guess what I was watching?
What's that?
TikTok.
Well, sure, yeah.
Greatest receivers of the 2000s
I love Larry
that no
Fitz.
one talks about.
I love Larry Fitz.
Number one was Larry Fitzgerald.
He's incredible. Can you imagine if he had good quarterback play for even most of his career? Incredible.
That's funny. So I was like, man, I think I'm pretty shallow.
Oh, I'm definitely super shallow with that stuff.
It's just it's amazing how if things just don't fit my eye, I can't.
You can't get around it.
Which is why I'm not mad at people sometimes. Like when your outwardly appearance draws an immediate assumption.
Yeah.
Now you get let's be honest. What else do we have to go on at first?
Yeah. I mean, you should probably give people a chance.
No.
I know. But
we're not going we're not being myopic, right?
Yeah.
Or best case scenario. It's just
but
what actually really happens.
And it takes a conscious effort, right? If you get a certain indication or vibe or whatever off somebody just on instant reaction, because that's a visceral thing. We can't really control that.
Mm-hmm.
you have to make a conscious decision about whether or not you're going to still give that person a chance or not.
Yeah, that's why I always.
And it's hard.
I always love the whole. I don't see color. You're a liar. Whether you act on it or not,
that's the real thing.
Is something completely different.
It's like instinct versus intention, right?
Yeah.
Your instinct is one thing. Does your intention follow the instinct, or do you say, "Hey, I want to be better than that"? Or
you ever looked at guys that are really good, or
sometimes I'm like, "Hey, my instinct's right."
I look, I'm like, he doesn't look like he could play dead.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do this in high school all the time. You just watch so much film and tape and stuff, and then you
pick up patterns and
you see people in real life, like pre-game or something. You're watching more of them.
And you're like, body type. Body type doesn't work usually.
I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Or, oh shoot, that's it's incredible.
No, there's a reason that I gravitate towards certain types of either basketball players or like you gravitate, especially in sports, towards like body types, right? You're like, that body type fits my eye for this position or this type of guy. And it's really hard to get past because I'll be honest, I struggle with it it's one of the reasons I hated Melo. Melo always looked soft, like squishy to me.
Oh my gosh, wash your mouth out.
He did. Melo always looked squishy. Chris Paul, too. Chris Paul has always looked a little squishy.
Oh, God.
And so I always struggle with those guys.
I thought your first segment yesterday was offensive.
Well, I mean, listen.
We're going to stay away from the criticism of Carmelo Anthony.
Why?
I love Carmelo
Anthony. He was a bucket, right? Like he was... I'm not
grossly underappreciated.
He would have been the best number 2 of all time, and everybody thought he was the one. That was the problem.
Here we go. You just couldn't help yourself, could you?
Listen, that's not an insult. He's a really, really good basketball player. Yeah. Most guys in the history of the NBA are not ones.
Oh.
Even the really good players. Most Hall of Famers.
You mean outside of the national championship he won?
I'm talking NBA one, an NBA one.
Okay.
He was a college one. There's a lot of college ones that aren't NBA ones.
A lot of good. But so what about when he was carrying the Knicks, going for like 70, and they were a bad team?
He didn't get any help. I'm not gonna argue there. He also chose to be there.
So when he didn't get along with Carl, was he a one in Denver?
I don't know. They never did much.
He was a one though.
He was their one, but he's not a me one.
Okay,
let's
stay away from the slander.
It's not slander.
Oh, it is. It is. Listen.
Didn't win a damn thing in the NBA.
I know he's listening. 888-6. He may hit you up.
Melo, hit me up.
I was going to send him the
888-638-4876. Yeah, send my cell phone number if Melo wants to talk to me.
I'm going to send him your cell number.
He wasn't a one in the NBA. I don't know what to tell you. I think most guys that are pegged as ones by their teams aren't real ones in the NBA. It's what it is.
You're a funny dude.
It's just what it is, man.
You're a funny dude.
Like, I struggle with the KDs of the world. You think I'm going to give Melo a pass?
Well, maybe.
What are we talking about here?
I was so hoping that
my bar is so high for a 1.
Yeah,
I get it. It's an unreasonable standard, but it's my standard.
Full disclosure.
What's that?
I could probably stomach some of Stephen A's nonsense.
Yeah,
if he didn't appear, his appearance, the way he carries
and sounds.
I could listen. There are lots of people. No, because I'm not really like just my person. Like I'm not.
So
know
what
like
it is
that.
For me? The thing, it's not about like even the sound of his voice or anything. There's this thing that people do, and sometimes I do, and it makes me hate myself a little. Is when people are talking and you can tell they're running out of breath at the end of the sentence,
and they slide it in anyway.
Yeah, that Stephen.
Like me when I sing in the shower and I want to get one more line in, and I know I should just stop.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I gotta take a breath here before I keep going.
But in my head, I'm like, I can't make myself sound raspy like that.
I can hit that note.
I gotta take advantage of the morning voice while I got it.
Is he just angry all the time?
I don't even think he's actually angry.
So I watched him. Again, just me being petty yesterday. Yeah. I said, see, that's the kind of stuff that bothers me. See, the camera panned to the 3-person set. Mm-hmm. And what's he do? He fixes his suit coat. He makes sure that now, meanwhile, the interview, they're talking. Mm-hmm. And he's fixing his pocket square. He's doing his suit. And he's like doing the expression that he wants you to see.
Yeah.
Like making sure he's got his. I'm like, would you knock it off? Brian Leaf. Knock it off, all right? And I'm so petty.
Yeah.
So then anything that he says after that, it drives me up the wall. Because there's people whose deliveries, Bob Meyer drives me crazy.
Yeah.
His delivery.
He drives me crazy for different reasons, but.
But I'm like, okay, what's he actually saying?
Yeah.
And so then it becomes the game within the game for me. Can I grow up real time in the moment to just
take in the
just eat the meat, spit out the bones?
Yeah.
So that's what I do with people.
Yeah.
So it's not the auditory thing.
No, it's a very specific pet peeve that I have of people talking when they're out of breath. Because I don't know what it is. It annoys me so much. I can't do it. So it's like when they're at the end of they're just like, and then it's like, what? Stop it. Just take a breath, man. Like, what are we doing?
Everybody's got their guy that they just don't like that because the way they love my man Benny Mac.
What do you say?
Igor Olshansky. He even looked like, is he talking about the smaller D lineman? Igor Olshansky? Got to be, right? There can't be that many.
Yeah, there can't be a lot of Igors out there.
What a random.
We're not in like, Soviet era Russia here. I don't think there's a lot of Igors just running around.
My buddy Kyle couldn't get over it. Shane, plug your ears. Couldn't get over Lester Hayes because he didn't look cool. I'm like, I want to reply. Lester Hayes was the epitome of cool, but he didn't like his original face mask either.
Gotta
isn't it petty?
That's very Tom Petty right there.
It's like I couldn't get into Michael Cooper.
What is that? He is kind of goofy looking. Michael Cooper's goofy looking.
I could not get past his frame. And he wore the little itty bitty baby shorts. And I get it, everybody did then, but
everybody's doing it again now.
Oh my God.
It's coming back.
Everybody. Did you let the style of let the style of dress influence your opinion last night?
100%.
It's crazy.
Automatically judge people with bad suits or like their outfits are bad or whatever. It's because I care too much about suits and stuff. But
I had some strong opinions on Reed Shepherd's mom, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I missed like 60 seconds of what was said because I couldn't. I just all these things were going through my head.
Like anybody that can't put color combinations together right, or you know what I hate? I hate the necklace outside the collar, or the necklace outside the suit collar.
So then I was really disappointed in myself. I gave myself the walk of shame around the kitchen. I'm like, I understand what they were talking about with marketability in the WNBA. Like, I get it. If we're honest, we all should get it.
More Hurrdat Sports coming up next. We are back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Judging people mostly is what we're talking about. You know, guy.
Well, it just comes, but like if we're being honest, like
everybody makes a snap judgment about people, and then it's what you do with that information, right? Which is totally fair. A guy that, speaking of NBA draft.
Speaking of the judge, do you know what Lester Hayes' nickname is? The Judge. I'll be here all day.
I'm going to tweet something real quick.
He is so mad. It's okay if he chimes in. I mean, we've definitely heard worse. Like, just let him say his piece.
I know. I would love it if that
Sports Radio is Shane Schillenberg.
I would love it if that piece was was on time. Just at any point.
Shay,
I said it because you said the judge.
Shay, because
you're judging. I'm, Lester Hayes.
Doing you, Shane.
I have no doubt that.
Why are you judging me then?
So, NBA draft. A guy I didn't really like his game ever, but then also his look really factored into that. If I'm being honest, is Jordan Poole.
Yeah,
Jordan Poole has a terrible look.
I don't like. That's way random.
Yeah. But that's a real thing.
Sure.
A lot of it's, I really judge bad facial hair. Like if you got the real wispy stuff going on, I'm not.
And some people want to be noticed too, right? So they do things intentionally, and they expect you to autocorrect.
Yes, it's like, man, listen, I have my brain.
Yeah, I'm not. You know what? I don't give in to that.
My brain has processed something a certain way for so long, and even if I'm making an honest effort to not notice it or be respectful or whatever. Like you kind of have to give a little grace there.
Yeah. If I apologize for falling in your trap, like if
for
you
the trap
want, if
you
you
set
want,
for me.
yeah, if you want attention,
It'd be like if Anthony Davis was like, check out my unibrow, but don't talk about my unibrow.
Yeah.
Like what are we doing?
Yeah,
like he at least kind of leaned into it where he's like, he did the commercials and stuff. And like, I that's fine. I don't care. You want to rock the unibrow and you like acknowledge it and it's cool, whatever. But don't rock the unibrow and then pretend like nobody should notice you have a unibrow.
I have a question because back to the NBA draft and the visuals,
Mm-hmm.
they did something that I think that they should have done for the playoffs. And we never got to this, but I asked you, I'm like, do you ever, especially with some of these football games when they stream that will, like putting games on TBS, but using like ESPN's crew, like those things will happen here down the road with the inventory. So you get used to seeing a look or a presentation of something. I told you the YouTube TV thing on the screen and the scorebook. Like there are just lots of things aesthetically that bugged me about the finals.
Yeah.
Not to mention the horrible halftime thing, right? Which was like 3 minutes with zero analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could get over all that. Why couldn't they just set the stage with what they did last night with the draft? They actually did this thing called an open.
What?
It was narrated. It had a voice. There were snippets. There were these little vignettes. Like, remember when NBC would have the finals and it would be like,
they have this like
Barkley,
cinematic open.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Game 6 and Game 5, and then it would tell the story, or Bobby Bowden and T.O. Like they would do those opens, and you were like in. I don't understand why, like for the finals, they just go right to the basketball game.
Yeah.
We didn't even get the starting lineups. Like, remember when why do we know Detroit Pistons basketball? Part of it is because of the announcer.
Yeah. Detroit basketball.
Like that.
And some of those on-court announcers are
move,
awesome.
Right? But
that's what I used to be able to do.
But last night, it totally changed my mood.
I used to be able to do the Bulls starting lineup like in that dude's voice.
Now,
from North Carolina. Yeah, like the whole thing. I had it memorized. I knew everybody went to college. I knew everybody's height. I knew what order they came out in. Like it was cool
so
thing.
good when we were kids. I was offended when they stopped doing people's weights.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. When we stop doing that? That's part of the deal.
Probably Robert Tractor Trailer was just like, we're good here.
6'10" power forward.
380.
Stop.
I should be respectful. He's dead, I think.
Yeah.
R.I.P. R.I.P. to the trailer. I liked watching him in college.
So why can't, what's wrong with that?
No, I don't know, man.
Let's go on with the production crew.
You're paying off.
While I was picking at all the other little things, right?
Yeah.
I didn't need to see ESPN on ABC. I'm surprised they didn't throw on a Disney thing. I know.
ESPN
I know.
On ABC, presented by Disney.
I know.
Bundle
right?
with Hulu.
Take some of that and give me an open.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point where they're trying to just, and this has happened over the last couple of years, and it's kind of even accelerated a little bit. It's gotten to the point to where they're just trying to let the event speak for itself. That's what they're doing. I don't agree with.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do we have the drive-through mentality when it comes to viewing sports? Do we want that?
That's a fair question.
Because I always have to wonder when you make as many mistakes as me. Sometimes you're like, man, what can I do differently?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a me thing. Am I why can't we set the stage for a big event?
So, and they do, they will for a Super Bowl. They will for some, right?
Right.
I think.
Remember the original.
Yeah.
If the NBA wants the viewing to come back.
Right. And I would
help yourself aesthetically.
I would argue that there are probably some people that are just like, hey, just give me the game, whatever. But and this is not just a recent thing. Throughout, I think, history probably, but it's certainly throughout sports history, people are attracted to stories more than they are to games, right? If you
think that's true?
Casual fans, yes.
Okay.
If you're hardcore and you like love the game,
I'm listening. I'm on the hook.
be like people. This is why
I'm wriggling off.
Like, why do you think people started watching F1 after the Netflix series?
Shane, what's a good lure?
I don't know. Lure?
Like a spinner.
Is that a good one?
Yeah, you can use spinning baits.
Good rims too.
I have a Nebraska
Spinner
hook.
Oh,
that somebody gave me. It's pretty cool. I think I may bring it in here for a good omen charm.
let's do it. Maybe game 1, week 1, we bring it in for a good omen charm.
For UTEP? Nah, I better save that.
Same for Colorado.
I mean, I guess.
We need that Colorado win.
Don't get me started.
I personally need that Colorado win.
I'm still mad at you.
Why are you mad at me?
Because I was thinking about the whole looks thing.
Yeah.
Remember I told you I was just on it yesterday? Yeah. Well, with Klatt, like Dion he's rocking the full beard with the cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just these parts of me that wonders, does he think he looks good? Do other people think he looks good? Is this part of the – because it's clearly a new look for him sometimes.
He's trying to go like all Yellowstone on the whole thing.
And then sometimes it's like the baseball cap and the clean look. I showed you the audio where he was sitting there watching practice with Shador.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, maybe he's just versatile. But I do feel we judge it.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen him wear a cowboy hat ever until he moved to Colorado, so – it may not be the most authentic thing in the world.
But he is kind of like you watch him down in Florida, like fishing and the waders and the boat. Like he's got some country boy to him.
That's fine.
You know what I mean?
I never seen him wear a cowboy hat until he got to Colorado.
That's a different kind of country, though.
Yeah, it's a different country.
I don't think they're not rolling with like cowboys in Florida.
No.
It's a different kind of country,
there's
like rural.
Yeah, rural and country are not all.
What's the word again?
Rural. Like Earl.
Maybe he couldn't just find one when he was down south.
And so the casual fan,
I think the casual fan is attracted to stories. That's why the Netflix series works. That's why Hard Knocks works.
What was
Drive to Survive? There's this huge F1 series on Netflix. That's why they went from having like the popularity of F1 exploded like 3 years ago.
Is this true, Shane?
Because of this Netflix series. There's been some to that effect there's a PGA series called Full Swing that has helped the popularity of certain golfers as well. But it's the reason why Hard Knocks still exist. People like stories.
Wait, they're doing a division this year.
Yeah, and they're doing an in-season again.
And it's I think it's the Steelers.
It's a
Steelers, Bungles,
like
Cravens, and Clowns.
So to your point, I think those opens kind of setting the stage, that's a place where they can connect the stories to the viewer.
Even the NHL would do hits like from the ice, before they would come back to the regular broadcast. Like sometimes even the national anthem, like depending on what arena you're in.
Yeah, it can set the stage.
I just don't know, like if I'm in the
problem with the NHL was though they ran the same 5 over and over and over and over again.
Watch your mouth out.
Well, they did. The guy with the gloves, they did that one like 17 different times.
Coming up next, we're going to
slightly different.
Shane, you mind if I get this out? Is that cool?
No.
Well, we got a guest coming up, and we haven't got it out yet. Dalton Bargo, Tennessee baseball player, national champion, and Omaha native, coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are joined now by national champion.
Got a nice ring to it.
It does have a nice ring to it. Dalton Bargo of the Tennessee Volunteers, but more importantly, of your very own Omaha, Nebraska. Dalton, what's going on?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. I'm trying to hit the trifecta. Having coached football there the last 4 years, I'm trying to have him weave in a West Side deal, too, but he won't humor me.
If he was a Miller North guy, I definitely would.
Knock it off. You own those guys, Dalton, in high school, I know. Hey, congratulations, man. How you feeling?
Thank you. I feel just kind of coming down off that high right now and kind of just taking it all in and enjoying the last moments with the boys. But, I mean, this last week has been unreal.
Dalton, so I got to ask you, I think every kid that grew up playing baseball in Omaha has kind of dreamt of this moment that you got to experience on Monday. Just what were some of the things going through your head as you realized, like, hey, this is actually happening? And, like, how much did you think about that dream growing up?
Yeah, no, I thought about it every time I put on a baseball uniform. I'm doing this to get back to Omaha, and putting on that jersey on Monday night felt a little different than the usual. And there was definitely some moments throughout the game where I was like, wow, like this could really happen tonight. And it took me a little bit just to kind of lock back in on the game and worry about getting the win before anything else.
How cool was it? We went back and excuse me. We've had so many conversations, whether it's with Kyle Peterson or Kendall Rogers or any of these guys from D1 baseball over the last couple of years about Coach Vitello and his personality. He loves hard. He coaches hard. He allows you guys to be you. And right away, coming to Omaha, he set the stage about a winning culture and making decisions. And he used you as an example. Right? He says, listen, I probably should have pinch hit Bargo. He let me know a little bit of an attitude. He responded well. And, if we're talking about coaching decisions, I probably owe him one on that. And I thought it was interesting because just knowing a little bit of your background, I'm thinking not only does that epitomize Tennessee, just the authenticity of him being open and honest about himself, but when he described your personality about wanting to get another crack at it and kind of showing a little attitude, was it fitting that all of a sudden you get a chance to have an impact here on this stage? I just thought it was, of all the things that he could have done differently, he led with that one, which lets me know, like, your presence is fairly important to him.
Yeah. No, I mean, for him to do that, it brings a lot of respect to me towards him. And obviously I've respected him since the first time I've talked to him on the phone, but that's why I came to Tennessee, is for that guy right there, and as well as the guy in the third base coach's box. But, I mean, a guy like that is who I want to play for and who I want to win a national championship for.
I always talk about fit, having coached in high school for 20 years, and I can't help but to think I've had a long-standing relationship with Coach Greco, and I know he retired in 19, but some very similar mannerisms about there's a lot of tough love, the way that program was built at Westside. Were you drawing any comparisons as you're growing up, wanting to be a part of what Westside's doing and just the culture that had been set in baseball?
No, yeah, definitely a little bit. I can definitely see some similarities there, but it shows because, I mean, that Westside team under Greco had a lot of success going to state tournaments and stuff like that, and now we're having a lot of success under Coach Vitello, and I mean it shows that it works, obviously, and but that's the kind of coach I want to play for, and he's one of the main reasons why I came here.
We're talking with Dalton Bargo, Tennessee Volunteers national champion, and Omaha Westside grad. Dalton, I know you weren't at Tennessee before this year, but did you get a sense from some of the guys that had been there the last couple of years when, there was a lot of narratives about the team falling short? Did you get a sense of what might have been different this year for some of those guys compared to the years where they weren't able to get it done?
No, yeah, for sure. It sounds like this year's team was a lot like that 22 team that fell short in the Super. It's just a good group of guys that are just going to fight for one another every single day, day in, day out, and we're going to have each other's backs, and we're just a big family, and it's like a brotherhood. And we became really tight as a team really quickly in the fall, and I feel like that's why we had so much success this year. Is, if I didn't get the job done, I trust the guy behind me to get the job done. If he doesn't get the job done, I trust the guy behind him, and it's just all the way up and down the lineup, all the way through the pitching staff, and I feel like just trusting one another and having each other's backs is just. I mean, that's who we are, and that's why we do what we did this year.
This one kind of tugged at my heartstrings because I'm a total mama's boy, but my dad was my rock. You got to walk our listeners through the "Hey kid, don't suck," because I don't know if my mom could ever say that to me when I was when I was playing at such a young age. But you guys kind of made it a thing, and even that kind of seems like it's your personality, what little of it that I'm aware of. Hey kid, don't suck today. Like, what's the backstory there?
I don't really remember exactly when it started. but it was just, there was one time before a game, I went over, gave my mom a hug, and as I was walking away, she said, "Hey, kid," and I turned around, and she said, "Don't suck," and I must have had a really good day that day because she's texted me every day since.
How old were you?
Baseball game. What's up?
How 10? And you weren't traumatized. Good on you.
No, that's how our family is, though. I'll tell you what.
That's funny. Dalton, I'm curious if there's a moment from the College World Series that is going to stick out to you. Obviously, you got the final pitch and clinching the championship, but is there one that's going to kind of stick out in your head as a memory?
I think the biggest one is going to be after we won the national championship, and I look over the stands and see my mom and my dad waiting for me.
Mm.
Just because they've been there every step of the way, and I told them when I was a little kid that I was going to come back and do what I did, and just to see them there in the stands and watch me do it in my hometown, it was everything.
Did you experience? So, how about anxiety? Right? Because sometimes I walk people through the ability to handle emotions, even when it's something that should be perceived as a positive. Right? You're coming back home. There's some familiarity. It's going to be a topic of discussion. You just want to dial in. What do we miss when we think, "Oh man, he's coming home. That'd be pretty cool"? And you may be like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. There's like 300,000, 300 extra people here." Like, what were you navigating in your head?
Kind of just keep playing baseball. I mean, it's the same game that I've played since I was 4 years old, and it's a lot easier if you just keep it simple, and it's a lot easier to handle those big moments if you kind of just embrace it and be like, "All right, here we are. Let's just go play ball." And that's something that Coach Vitale is really big about. Is his big thing is pressure is a privilege, and kind of just embracing those moments, and because not everybody gets to be there, and you should be lucky and grateful to be on that kind of stage and have those opportunities, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and especially going home and playing in front of your friends and family. And but yeah, that's kind of the big thing that he was talking about leading up to the College World Series, is just embracing the moment and taking it all in, and using it as a privilege rather than, "Oh my, I gotta do this, and this," instead of just, "We're here, let's go play ball."
When in between chasing a repeat national championship, swing by the school. You got to see the new facility that's going up around that beautiful baseball complex. It's just getting started, but they gutted the pool and we're starting from scratch. And you come by and say hello.
All right.
That's Dalton Bargo. Dalton, we appreciate your time, and congratulations. It's pretty cool to see an Omaha guy win a national championship right here. Congrats,
Thank
bud.
you, guys. Thanks for having me.
You got it.
That's Dalton Bargo of Tennessee and of Omaha West Side, but more importantly on the Omaha part. No, it's super cool. That I know we're.
Well, yeah, I bet you would have been feeling like that if it was like Bartles when he was at Stanford pitching. And
100%. If Connor Gillespie had won a national championship at Wichita State, like, you'd have heard about it. You wouldn't have heard the word Omaha. You'd heard Miller North about 800 times. I don't know if you remember the first time we interviewed Crouch on this show.
Oh, Lord. I do. Skipped over everything but the Miller North part. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, he might have won a Heisman, too, but he was really good at Miller North. No, it's super cool just because, obviously you and I both grew up in Omaha playing baseball, and, that's a thing that you dream about.
It is.
The thing, and no one has experienced that until him.
Yeah.
Which is, and there's been a hell of a lot of good baseball players come out of this town.
I should hit Steve up and get some insight and go Seals on Bargo's personality.
Yeah,
because he seems all business.
He does. He seems pretty. He sems pretty straight to the point, and just let's get after it.
I think we woke him up too, Shane. So good on him.
Yeah, I appreciate him spending the time with us, and I really want to talk to him because it was a cool. I think there's a lot of people who grew up playing baseball in Omaha that are a little bit envious of a 20-year-old because of what he just got to experience, and rightfully so.
Yes, indeed.
Coming up next, we will kick off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage. Coming up on the show, hey, it only took me a full hour to get the lineup out. We've got Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider at 8:45. At 9, we've got Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7, and then at 9:45, we've got Matt Powers from Swish Theory to talk a little NBA draft. You got any other draft hot takes you need to get out?
No,
or about anything about the way guys looked or anything?
I mean, I was happy that because Connect was one of the few guys that I actually liked.
Oh, in this draft. What did I text you yesterday?
And I couldn't believe that he fell to 17.
Just fell right in your lap at the Lakers. You're like, oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
What did I text you? I think we're around pick 12 or 14.
And you said, well, you'll get Connect.
I said you'll get Connect, and before that, I said I would take him over almost everybody else
that had been
drafted.
Picked. Yeah,
at that point.
Yeah.
There's listen, I'm sure there's going to be some good players out of that bunch.
So a guy who I kind of like is Holland.
I didn't see him a ton.
Yeah.
So I don't have a real strong opinion on him.
And the only reason I did is because of course, Micah.
Yeah.
Oh,
he loves that stuff.
I turned his TV off last night, and it's on.
So, last year he was talking to me about the Thompson twins and, all those guys.
We were in the car yesterday, and he was listening to a couple radio segments, and he's just shaking his head in disgust. He was just answering all these questions about draft picks because the running joke with this draft is it's kind of an anonymity.
Yeah,
anonymity.
Yeah, nobody knows anything about any of these guys.
So, he prides himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Richard Ray. I was like, yeah, good job. Good job there, buddy. But it is going to be interesting. I was shocked at Edey.
Yeah, 9 was higher than anybody had him, I think.
Yeah.
And Klingen at 7 was where people originally thought he was going to go, but by the
then
draft
you thought
time,
he was moving up
to 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go, okay, well, is he sliding? Is this just where he was all along? Then you've got,
who has none of the mannerisms, at least outwardly, that I pictured him as the type of player?
Who?
Who do you think it is?
Reed Shepherd.
No. He oozed Reed Shepherd. He oozed basketball family Shepherd.
You already said Dillingham.
It's Dillingham.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's why I didn't go Dillingham, because you'd mentioned him earlier.
Didn't give me any of the I'm going to get a bucket Stone Cold Killer vibes.
No.
At all.
No.
And I get it. I get the offensive prowess. Like I said all along, he's a bucket.
Yeah.
But
also tiny.
And it's he's playing with another ball dominant guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do need to get a lot better in the half court.
I liked his fit honestly with the Spurs better than I did with the.
Me too.
Because before I saw a trade come down, I text my little group chat, D. Marinas and Padilla and Sindelar, and I go, I kind of really like that.
I did too.
I really liked the Castle Dillingham combo, and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. I like this. And then they're like, and Dillingham's going to Minnesota, and I was like, okay. I don't like that.
Maybe offensively they'll figure it out.
Well, you just got one more guy to take a turn with, I guess now.
Well, you watched him in a half court. It was kind of a crapshoot.
That's what I mean. But it was just guys taking turns, right? There was no discernible offensive philosophy except for okay, this guy's going to ISO, and then this guy's going to ISO, and then whatever.
Is there a particular college coach that you felt won the day yesterday?
Not yesterday, but Jay Wright is looking pretty good right now with all with the New York Nova.
He can't really benefit anymore.
No, but it's probably Hurley. With Klingen and Castle both going top 7.
Is this weird that I think Cal kind of won the night?
He was my second guy, was Cal, with Dillingham and Shepherd. And
there's so many Kentucky guys. Mm-hmm. And he's got kind of a blank slate, and I think on this roster he's going to carry 10 or 11.
Yeah, that's what he's been talking about.
And
he's running shorter rosters.
And they're awesome fellas. I watched him on, was it McAfee's show yesterday?
I think so.
I think it was Pat McAfee's show, and he gave this pitch about when they win, winning matters.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, when we win, when we won, first 6, 7 guys I had got drafted.
Yeah.
So, hey, guys, if you're playing for Cal, remember, let's win first.
Mhm.
The rest of the stuff, like, I'm going to get you guys where you need to be. Let's win.
Mhm.
And I was like, God, that's a nice little.
He had a run where they were really, really good. He only got the one national title, obviously, but they had a run where they were really, really good, making Final Fours pretty much every year.
Bledsoe's getting drafted.
And
Devin Booker.
Who was the backup center that didn't play? Not Cantor. The other. There was.
Didn't he wore zeros?
Yes. And he didn't play, like barely played. Didn't start a single game.
Come on.
And maybe to start with a K.
Come on.
And this dude gets drafted in the first round.
Yep.
Based on his high school pedigree and based on the fact that he was a Cal guy.
Yep.
Like that is what can happen when and it was routine for 3 to 4 of the 5 starters to get drafted for Cal on any given year.
I can't remember who was that.
You know who I'm talking about.
I know. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can.
I think it's.
Was it Poitras?
No, he was the wing, and he stayed a couple extra years. This guy was a one and done.
Oh, I know.
Man, I can't remember. I'll have to.
Who am I missing?
Jeez,
that was really loud. I'll have to look it up at some point. But like that's what he's talking about though. Is you mentioned Bledsoe, Booker, guys that didn't start for him, even though they played like good roles. We had no idea that Devin Booker was going to be Devin Booker but he got drafted because of what Cal was doing at Kentucky.
Let me ask you something. How come we don't have more? Because I kind of heard this as a knock last night as opposed to like a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's not an elite level athlete, but the floor is high. And I kept thinking, there's a guy that we don't consider like an elite level athlete, and all he does is get buckets in the NBA, and he plays for the world champions. Like, why doesn't Tatum get more comps? Because there's some guys I felt like last night has some Tatum to him.
I think Tatum is
kind of like Richeray.
I feel like Tatum is
he doesn't get a ton of comps.
But I do feel like he's a pretty common like archetype. Like I think there's a lot of guys that sort of have a Tatum-ish game. Now, maybe it's because it's hard to replicate at the level that he does, but I mean, it seems like people were more willing to throw out KD comps than they are Jason Tatum. It's like, like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Like you're
talking about a top 5 scorer of all time.
Yeah, so whether it's like, they throw out Brandon Ingram or they like any tall, skinny guy that can score, they're like, giving kind of shades of Durant. It's like, no, he's not.
It's funny.
No, he's not.
It's funny you bring up Ingram because he's a guy.
And I like Ingram. Like
I would have we were doing these top 5 teams for a while. It's kind of a COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know how more people don't have Ingram on there. And I get it. You have a host of fellas to choose from.
For Duke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for a 1-year guy who was going for 19 a night, like Brandon Ingram was a bucket. He may have to make my cut. I mean.
100%.
No, don't say it that easy. Because
100% could make the cut.
Oh, because that's
he's 100% in the discussion. Has to be in the discussion. Not like if you leave him off for other guys, I get that. You got a lot of really good guys, especially the wings at Duke. But you can't just pretend like he's not an option.
Yeah, because everybody was like penciling in Grant Hill, and I was like, in college, I don't know, man. I probably would take Ingram.
Yeah,
Grant Hill he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
He'd have a hard time playing
in today's NBA. Yeah, he would. Now and
that's not to say Grant Hill wasn't. I mean, he was nice, but
he kind of transformed himself after the injuries, be a more like useful modern player. But when he came out of college, he wasn't.
He's another guy that I've come around on over time.
Grant Hill.
Yeah.
Why is that?
He's just aged better for me. Hard to say. I mean,
I kind of end up feeling bad for guys that go through what he went through. Daniel Orton is the guy I was thinking of.
That's not who I was thinking of.
Okay.
That's absolutely not who I was thinking of.
That was the backup center that I was thinking of was Daniel Orton.
Huh.
I don't know why. That was just anyway, but like I end up sort of feeling bad for these guys that don't like they have whether it's like a Penny Hardaway or a Grant Hill, these guys that have incredibly bright flashes early.
Brandon Roy.
And yes, Brandon Roy's a great one. I loved Brandon Roy's
Me
game.
too.
But and then it derails because of injury or whatever, and you just, there's some guys that I end up like Sean Livingston. I was just happy he could walk again after what happened to him, and the fact that he kind of became this important player on a championship team, I thought was super cool. But there's other guys. I also didn't necessarily ever think Sean Livingston was going to be a superstar. It's like Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway, we're going to be superstars.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or like Derrick Rose is one that comes up a lot, where you're like, oh man, and then you sort of just see them when they're older and they're still.
I like younger Wagner.
Which one?
In Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
Like, because that was Crohn's, right?
Yes, I think so.
You talk about an offensive monster.
Yes,
and he was great as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
And I couldn't, like, I know people. Crohn's is in like my family.
Yeah, I've
T. Phrase has Crohn's. Like, I've seen people
people
function.
Yeah,
and I wonder what it was about Wags.
I've seen people function. I don't know that I've seen people function at like a high athletic level once they've, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's something I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah, I may have to go back.
I know I know there could be stretches of your life that are like debilitating because of it. And then hopefully you can like their flare-ups or whatever, and then you can get it kind of more manageable for a while. But I don't know physically what it does to you that would like make that lifestyle harder.
Yeah,
because there's certain things that you just don't see. Yeah, it could make it pretty challenging. But like I don't know. I don't know if it's like because I'm getting old or whatever. But I end up feeling just sympathy for a lot of these guys that. You kind of, even if I didn't necessarily like him that much, I was like, oh man, I kind of wish it hadn't gone down that way for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's a weird dynamic.
Well, I know there's lots of guys what if. It's just usually on a local level.
Yeah.
Taylor Martinez or.
Like what if his ankle stays healthy or whatever?
Matt Harrion or, guys like that.
Harrion's a good one with the, yeah.
I'm just like, gosh, I wonder how that could have been if they would have stayed healthy.
Yeah.
I really like Leslie Dennis. He was a corner out of Manatee that I thought could have been a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Tore his knee up, just didn't come back well. But then I'd seen other guys like, I don't know. Those injuries are funny.
Yeah.
I've seen people come back better. Like I watched Jamel Williams post ACL.
Mm-hmm.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Mike Minner post ACL.
What do you think that is?
I have no idea. I'm sure some of it is genetics.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think like of a. Yeah, you're right. You're probably right in terms of genetics. But I'm wondering, like, okay, was there an injury there for a while that they didn't know about, and then they finally got healthy, and now they look like a different person? Is it? I imagine it's not this way with the guys you were talking about, but it's like they never really knew how to train right, and going through the rehab process made them sort of dial in on their training in a way they hadn't before.
And I get it. Medicine is different in types of tears, but could you imagine Dan Marino coming back like Aaron Rodgers?
No.
Or Kirk Cousins?
No. I mean,
it was unfortunate watching Marino. Yeah, which is
we don't know yet.
Which is true.
But I guess we don't know yet with Rodgers either. On the Achilles.
And I get it.
You expect him to be
I'm a
okay.
training camp nerd, so I watched him, and then they showed him kind of taking a break, and was he hobbling around?
Yeah.
Was he not hobbling around? Was he just watering down for Aaron Rodgers? But I mean, I don't know. Injuries just. I think football in general has a special place in my heart, just because you do put your body on the line.
Yeah,
every snap.
Crazy person behavior.
Like every snap.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about that all the time with like punt returners, but it's with everybody.
So who was on that too? We were just joking about it during 7-on-7 last Friday. It's me and Rice.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how crazy you have to be to
want to do that.
To say, hey, what? I want to return punts.
It seems like a good idea. I'm just going to look straight up in the air while a lot of dudes are just running full speed at me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to know where they are until they are right about to hit me.
But if you're good at it, man, can it change the game?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you just have to be full on crazy. You have to be out of your mind. Or at least be able to compartmentalize a little bit to Because no sane, rational person does that. Not a one.
Sane and rational. it's very. Listen, man.
Not a single one.
Young people are weird.
Young people are weird, especially when they're going through their recruitment process.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which,
we had some couple weird ones this week.
Latif affirms. Hey,
do you feel better or worse after the vote of confidence?
I like his personality, so I'm so
you're okay.
So I like it.
Okay,
but I am curious about Tapu.
Yeah, I mean,
because I didn't love Oregon State to begin with, but I do know.
Do you think that he forgot they weren't in the Pac-12 anymore?
No, I think recruiting is hard.
Yeah,
and I think there's lots and bells and whistles that happen.
You think he got like the emotional sell on at Oregon State?
And his dad's a physician there, or his uncle, not his dad. Like Tapu's uncle is a physician there.
Yeah, so
it's like
gotta have to control your emotions a little bit.
It's easy to get enamored.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
anytime somebody commits on a visit, I'm just like a little wary. Like on a visit.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Hey, you don't have to tell me.
Like, give me like 48 hours.
There's just something about this.
Like, get back home first.
And I know I'm not going to be 100% right, but I do feel like I have a good feel based on how I watch guys get recruited.
Yeah.
Right, because I just pitted against my Rolodex of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, he's kind of like such and such, or he's like such and such. And then I just look for the telltale signs.
Yeah. You're just looking for the markers.
You know, and like, again, like I'm not, when you don't know somebody, it's hard to make sweeping generalizations.
I think it's super easy to do it. I do it all the time.
Again, I hate being wrong. So I like to make sure I collect as much data as possible.
Yeah.
You don't have any problems taking 60 seconds. I may take 60 hours.
I'm a vibe check guy.
You know, so it's like
fails the vibe check. I'm out.
Yeah, when you text me yesterday, because it was actually trending for the first 2 hours that Merritt committed to Alabama.
Yeah.
What was my response?
Weird. ...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's no disrespect to listen. He may come back in the fold, and
who knows?
I mean, a lot can happen until signing day. I'm just telling you, just too much was going on with that for it to. It just didn't feel like a Nebraska type thing.
Yeah.
Not the way this staff is recruiting.
It was playing out in a way that was.
It was just
atypical for how.
It was just getting a little too Hollywood.
Yeah.
For how I think Nebraska likes to recruit.
Well,
not that it doesn't. I'm not saying anything about his character. I'm not saying anything about his play. I'm just saying they're just not a.
Didn't seem like a good fit.
I'm like
weird fit.
Yeah, they're so blue collary. This doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I wondered. I was like, okay, would you be able to live tweet on a recruiting on an official visit?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Or would you take a Q&A?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I've watched players, tweet stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shoot, our very own. I mean, Christian Jones was with Elliott Brown and Kalen, and he was like, hey, Husker Nation. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes you just get a sense that the Tapu thing being so quick at Oregon State, that didn't sit well right. But I do know one thing, and I'll say this and move on because I don't know crap from Shinola or whatever the saying is. But if Tapu gets back into the Nebraska fold, you better give Donnie Rayola his flowers early because that dude has worked it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
and it's amazing how the perception can change. The sky is falling. We're not getting any of these recruits. And you try to tell people, listen, man, when you shoot for the moon,
sometimes you're gonna miss.
Yeah, sometimes you're just gonna miss.
Yeah.
There's a long ways away to try to aim that thing. You know what I mean? It's like
it sure is.
But this recruiting is I'm very, very pro take your time.
Yeah.
I mean, visits are wild.
Well, it's the thing that we've talked about before with Rule is you don't want to make emotional decisions. You don't want to make,
and he tells you that.
Yeah, you don't want to make like anytime somebody commits on a trip, I go, is he just? you might understand this a little bit because you grew up going to church and stuff, right? There's but it's a different type of church. So I don't know. So in the evangelical churches where I grew up, there's this altar call thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're playing the music and the preacher's bringing home a point, and then he's like, man, if you want to change or I don't know, we used to go to these youth conferences and stuff, right? So they got the light shows and the band and this super dynamic speaker, and then they call you to action, if you want to change your life or if you want to commit to God or whatever, and it's a super emotional moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's I'm sure a lot of good comes out of those, but it is a little manipulative, right? They're trying to get you to feel something, and sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, whatever. I feel like recruiting trips are kind of like that, where they're trying to get your juices flowing a little bit, and then they're like, all right, now's the altar call. Now make the commitment.
But don't you
right?
think good ones, they know there's no long-term sustainability in that?
I know, but I wonder if people are okay, if we can get it in their head that this is the place for them, that idea, it's kind of like the Inception thing, right? That idea will grow on its own once they're in, and then it'll become real.
Yeah, and what I tell you off air for 3 weeks about Merritt, I'm like, this is how it's going to go,
mm-hmm.
right? It's if he says yes to Nebraska, it's cool that we're tweeting
that he's acting like that. We're so fresh and authentic and whatever.
Former DBs
mm-hmm.
and this, that, and the other. But there were just so many indications. I was like, yeah, I don't know, but I knew what we were going to hear if he didn't come to Nebraska. It was
too high maintenance, not good fit.
High maintenance, attention seeking, this, that, and the
mm-hmm.
other. And all you try to do in that time is, I don't want to convince you of people's character because I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, when you're looking and trying to follow the recruiting process, look for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You can do with the information what you will. But if you're consistent in the markers, it kind of takes emotion out of it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's futile, and I'm not trying to tell fans how to fan.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, my desired outcome is that you don't vilify
somebody who doesn't deserve to be vilified
based on our expectations.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand, because I probably cheer for young people more than I do adults.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad saying that because I just told Coach Sikora the other day, I'm probably the only person that cheers for sharks more than people when they're out in the ocean. But he was at Destin. And he's like, yeah, I went out into the water with my brother and I had my fist up. I'm like, come on, sharks. I'm from the Midwest.
Which is so Sikora versus the shark. You're voting shark.
In that case, I'm going, I don't have anybody to coach with if he leaves me. Or get my diet from. So I need Craig. But it just keeps you from hammering young people.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand the whole, if they're ours, we like it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not, they're this, that, and the other.
100%.
So I was very clear, right? It's not about his personality because I don't know him. I'm looking for markers that I think have consistency based on the schools that are recruiting it. It just, now, listen, again, signing day is a little ways away, and Nebraska could make a play again, but we got to get it. Remember, they're recruiting a mindset, too.
That's 100% accurate. Coming up next, we've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you're on your way to work, reminder, wearing your seatbelt saves lives and prevents injuries, but only if you wear it properly. Make it click. Message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. What's up, DB?
Oh, hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
I'm solid? Doing right over there?
I just was having some real-time thoughts over a bid.
A bit. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Durkin Landscaping because dude is smart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So I was just thinking about something in my head. I'm always thinking.
It's dangerous sometimes, man. You gotta be careful.
It is.
You gotta be careful there.
It's very hard for me to focus. I'm gonna have to get my thoughts back in order.
So let me ask you this: we're off the conversation we were just having about recruiting. Okay, so we got three guys: Brian Tapu,
Yep,
who we thought might be interested in Nebraska, commits to Oregon State, decommits from Oregon State within a few days. Dawson Merritt, who was down to Nebraska and Alabama, and it chose Alabama yesterday. And TJ Lateef.
Okay, give me Tapu, Merritt, Lateef. Okay.
So those three guys,
Yes.
those are the guys that have had recruiting-ish news in the last couple of days, although Lateef's is sort of made up.
I agree.
It's kind of just whatever.
So, but how would you? Okay, but let me just say something.
Yeah.
Does age matter?
Maybe.
If you asked me something and I said no comment or I don't want to talk about it, you would assume something's wrong.
Yeah.
Is it based on our relationship or a normal answer?
I mean, it's probably both. It's hard to separate.
Okay.
It's
So maybe maybe that's not Lateef's fault.
yeah, entirely possible. And the greater context of the conversation matters. It's because that can change how we process what he said.
Okay.
But
Because I'm curious why you asked me if post his comments, do I feel better or do I feel
well,
worse?
just because there's kind of this, to me, anytime you get this vote of confidence, I'm always dubious.
When it's unsolicited, I am 1,000% with you. Like if a GM comes out in favor of a coach, and nobody said anything, okay, maybe.
But it's always,
but we're probing. We're picking,
and that's why I ask, because I don't know. I don't necessarily get that feel with Lateef, but so my question is: those three guys, one currently committed to Nebraska, one currently committed elsewhere, one who is an uncommitted prospect. Which of those guys are you most confident ends up at Nebraska? It should be an easy answer, right?
Lateef, Merritt, Tapu.
It should be an easy answer, but I don't think it is. Like if I gave you even odds on Merritt, Lateef, and Tapu,
I'll take Tapu.
that's what I would do too. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, because
he's not committed.
So like if sometimes I'll just admit stuff.
Yeah.
Like my stomach is uneasy. Like right now, I feel like I just got off a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You would never know by me talking to you. But that's what that answer made me feel. That's how it made me feel.
Gave you a little anxiety?
I don't know if that's the word.
Yeah. Uneasiness?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the answer should be Lateef, right? He's committed to Nebraska currently.
Yeah.
The answer should be Lateef. Mm-hmm. Neither of us think that. We both think it's Tapu. And we didn't talk about this before.
No, like that's why I just never know with you. Especially, so that's the cool thing about the show, though, too, because like you can have an outline and you can do prep, but if something random comes up or just there's like this natural inclination to like
I'm going to follow
get in there.
I'm going to follow where the conversation goes.
I probably would take Tapu.
That's what I would do too, and that's very strange.
It sounds sucky. Right?
I don't think
one guy just said,
"Yeah,
I'm 100% in." Another guy just decommitted yesterday.
Yeah.
So why would I ever put stock in that?
Right.
Because I think I know more. I think
you know more about Tapu than you do Lateef.
I know more about Donnie Raiola than I do quarterbacks' mentalities during recruitment.
That's fair.
That's where I'm landing the plane.
Totally
like
fair.
If there's, I almost said, well, I can say it and not have you take it anywhere. But like if I'm thinking of like if I'm going to hit the landing strip, I just want to go like, what do I know the most about?
Sure. 100%.
I know the most about Donnie's personality and how he recruits more than I know about Lateef's personality and how quarterbacks can waver.
This is exactly why I picked quarterbacks over specialists the other day. I know less about the mentality of a specialist when something goes wrong.
Yeah, but buddy, do you know what bugged me about that?
What's that?
And you, I can't get you to come around. A quarterback needs more to go right.
I understand that.
And that's the emotions are still your trump card?
No,
a kicker's psyche
but
is the end-all be-all for your
because I
consternation
understand the things that
over
yes.
a quarterback needing 6 other things to go right.
Because I understand those 6 things. I would rather take 6 things that I understand.
You just don't want to mess with the human mind.
Yes.
Okay. Now how come you can't just say
I did.
that?
I literally said the whole thing is I don't trust.
That's what you kept. I don't trust kickers.
I don't trust their mentality. I don't trust what's going on in the headspace. It's a thing that is uncontrollable. You can control a lot of what you need to go right for a quarterback. And you can understand, like, okay, I need to make sure, like, okay, my offensive line struggles to block for more than 3 seconds. So my wide receivers' routes need to be quick. And I maybe need to roll my guy out a little bit to give him a little extra time. But he only rolls out well to the right when he's throwing the ball. Doesn't roll out well left and then throwing across his body. Like, you can account for all the things you need to go right with a quarterback. I can't account for a fact that a kicker just can't make kicks anymore because there's something happening in his brain.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot account for it. I can't account for a punter starting to shank it for no apparent reason. I can't account for that. I'm going to take the 6 things I can account for versus the one thing I can't.
So
that's it. And that's what we're talking about with Latif and Tapu. You are having a hard time accounting for the mentality of a quarterback during a recruiting process.
I just feel like one is so much further away than the other.
What do you mean?
Like the time frame
of the specialist versus the quarterback?
Tapu versus Latif.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So in my head, like real time, and Lord knows there's 55 things going through my mind at once right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to limit the variables.
But what good is limiting the variables if you get it down to variables that you do not understand? I would rather...
Okay, ask me that again.
What good is it to limit the variables if you get it down to variables that you do not understand fundamentally?
All right. Fair. That's a fair question. But why did an NFL defensive backs coach tweeting to a defensive back that is not on his team about something cryptic bother me? I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But you know what? It bothered me though because I have all these things in my head. I'm like, well, no, and I said this out loud. I'm like, number one, like they've recruited you guys as hard as they could. Mm-hmm. Like your families have spent time. You've been to dinner multiple times. Like you've been to Lincoln. Cam Taylor-Britt didn't play for Rule. Mm-hmm. You know more about Rule and Lincoln than CTB does. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Where's Cam Taylor-Britt from? And then I started thinking about all these other things. Mm-hmm. Is it that part of the country? Is this a band? So then all sorts of things were bugging me. Mm-hmm. I don't know any of it.
Right.
I'm just using deductive reasoning.
Yeah.
Just context clues. So that's probably my answer to that question, right? Where I would try to limit as many variables as I could in my head, even though I may not know anything.
I would argue, though,
do you know what I mean?
know more about that variable than you're giving yourself credit for, because you just laid it out for me about how Cam Taylor-Britt doesn't really know the staff, didn't play for Rule.
So who's to say that I'm right, though?
I mean, it's a reasonable assumption.
I have those with you all the time, and I can't get you to come around.
Well, yeah, but I like this one. I come around when I want to, DB.
That might have been a line of the day right there.
How about how smooth he just said it? No qualms, no, this doesn't feel good, but I'm going to say it anyway. Just as smug and as confident as could be.
Silky smooth.
I come around when I want to. I like this one. Who says that?
I don't know, but we'll see what Brian Edwards has to say coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are joined now by Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. What's up, B? I think you're on mute. We had a good couple weeks. It's all right. We had a good run.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
I think there we
Nope.
go.
All right. Sorry about that. Good morning, fellas.
How you doing, B?
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. Had some good fights last week. Robert Whitaker looked good. I like this co-main event on Saturday. I like Ortega a lot. Going up against Diego Lopez, and Diego Lopez is really good, but Ortega is an underdog. I'm all about it. I thought he looked great against Rodriguez, coming back off the shoulder injury, and then sprains his ankle in introductions, and still finds a way to beat Yair Rodriguez. And Damon, did you see how he's talking about going up to 55? And it made a lot of sense because
Financially, it does, but there's some monsters waiting.
Oh yeah, no, well, 100%. There's monsters waiting, but I mean, it made sense in that. I mean, Holloway and Volk are just in line ahead of him. And what if one of those fights needs a rematch with Topuria? He's just saying he can't get a title shot for the next year and a half at least, and I think he's accurate.
Hey, so do you think Dana's gotten better or worse at rewarding like the sequential journey, or you've earned or you deserve, or do you think it's still pretty much predicated on the money maker or the biggest draw? You think is he getting better at rewarding guys, in your opinion, that have earned it?
Well, we haven't seen Connor in a while, so that kind of takes. He can get whatever he wants.
Yes, I think he's like the Canelo Alvarez of the UFC, right? Like, you know what I mean? So I kind of set him aside. But it seems like I'm not saying he's a kinder, gentler Dana White, but it does seem like he's more open to rewarding the work than he has been historically.
Bilal Muhammad's finally getting a title shot. Well-deserved. And in the past, because I don't think Muhammad is never going to be a pay-per-view draw.
Yeah.
And yet he is getting the title shot this time. So, you're right. Connor's the outlier. And, I think he is kind of getting better at that, given the guys that are deserving before necessarily the guy's going to sell the most pay-per-views.
B got a couple fights again this coming up here. How are you feeling about Brian Ortega?
Yeah, so I like him a lot.
Plus, I know as a dog, you're going to be like,
yeah, he's a little dog, but he's still a dog.
Hey, you know the difference between plus and minus, don't you?
A little bit plus money.
I do. I mean, I can't turn down Ortega at underdog odds. And look, Lopez is good, but I mean, this is a huge step up in competition for him. I mean, Lopez has faced nobody ranked, whereas, I mean, you look at Ortega, I mean, all he has fought in the last 5-6 years is Holloway, Volk, Rodriguez, Korean Zombie, and Frankie Edgar. I mean, that's actually going back further. That's going back to 2018. So it's a big step up in competition for Lopez, and I think Ortega's got the advantage on the ground, and Ortega's stand-up has gotten so much better. So this is my favorite pick. I love T-City Ortega.
How do you usually view rematches? You look at stylistically, or do you pit it against what you saw happen the first time versus the current odds? Because sometimes they don't make any sense.
Right, yeah. So the last fight, Pereira, I mean, so I was in Biloxi at the sports book. This was a week. It was right after the Gators got their ass kicked by LSU, and I thought Prohaska was having some success early. But in the second round, Pereira just sized him up and put him down with his striking. So I'm going to go under 1.5 rounds on this one, plus 120 at FanDuel. I just think either one of them. I don't think there's going to be any wrestling. I just think they're going to stand and bang like they did last time, and I just don't think somebody's going down before the 7.5 minute mark, in my opinion. So under 1.5 on Paella and Prohaska.
All right, so this is just me. It seems like Prohaska is tougher. You just like Alex because he's probably the cleaner. He has more versatility to his strike game.
Yeah. I mean, well,
Because I think Prohaska seems like he could eat more.
right.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Right. No, I hear you on that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know who's going to win the fight, but I just think one of them is going to put the other down pretty quick, and maybe in the first round. But I think under 1.5 plus 120 is the way to bet this one. So let me see. How early into the second round did that first one end? I'm pretty sure it was.
So that's the line of demarcation. It's even. It's even. It's minus 115 for under 2.5 rounds. So they're like, okay, this is probably going to happen similar to it did the first time. So you're going to grab the chunk of money on a little quicker stoppage.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the last. Oh no, that was the Rocket. Okay, the Pereira and Prohaska. It actually lasted 4:08 in the round 2, so it went over 1.5 last time. But I'm going to say it's not gonna this time.
And I think Vegas agrees with you because they set it at 2.5 for the
small minus.
For the small minus.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys can hit though. I mean, somebody's gonna get.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And what do you think on Gary and Page? That's the one. I think that's what I think we'll call the people's main event. I think that's going to be a nice slugfest. And I didn't watch a whole lot of Venom Page at Bellator. I thought he looked great against Holland in his UFC debut. But Gary is so long. Page is long though too.
I just don't know about like how. And listen, and Page is a slight dog, right?
Yeah. Gary's around minus 140 to minus 150. You get Page around plus 120 or maybe a little better.
I don't know. It's going to be explosive. Like, although I could see that thing going over 2.5 rounds too. I just don't know about Page's level of competition.
Right. But he was impressive against Holland. And I went with Holland in that fight. So he took my money one time. Yeah,
I'll take Gary.
Yeah, I just think that length and the way he kicks, and he's just so big for welterweight.
It's funny now, like the sport has kind of evolved. How you see more guys use those front leg kicks almost like a jab.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice if you could do that? Like they use it like a punch.
Right.
It's not just leg strikes. It's like they try to stick it in your chest.
Oh yeah, those front kicks, and then and Jones always had the front, kick to the knees. Like
he and Silva made a living with that.
Yeah, they did.
Let's got a couple minutes here. And we've been going through some college football over-unders the last few weeks that we think are interesting. One that I'm a little curious about is Tennessee. I've got them at 9.5. B.
So yeah, some books have it at 9.5, and others have it at 9. So I would not play over 9.5, but I think 9 and 3 is kind of a worst case scenario for them. I mean, the major underdog spots are obviously at Georgia, where they're plus 15, and like plus 3.5 at Oklahoma, and barring injuries. In the Alabama game they're plus 2. So barring injuries, they're going to be favored in at least 9 games. So now the NC State game is only minus 4.5 to 5, but I expect them to win that. At Oklahoma is going to be a huge one for the win total. Look, if Nico, he's only got the one career start, but he looked great, and they're going to be better on the O-line. They got Chris Brazil, a good wide receiver from Tulane. They've got maybe the best edge rusher in the country in James Pierce, 10 sacks, 16 QB hurries last year. Now their secondary and linebacker, they're going to be a little inexperienced, but the offense should be outstanding. They got a four-star transfer from LSU and Lance Hurd, who they'll plug in an offensive tackle to start right away. And the center, Cooper Mays, who's really good, was hurt a lot of last year. He's back and healthy. So I think it's going to be a good year for them. I've got them 9-2 with the swing game being Bama. And so the two losses are at Georgia and at Oklahoma. But at Oklahoma is certainly a game they could win.
Hey, what's your? And I know we'll get to them here in the next couple of weeks. Are you think you're going to be a buyer of Texas this year?
Yeah, they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of guys out of the portal.
They're one of the 5 Power Fives that have a double-digit win total. Seems like a lot, though.
They're gonna
seems high.
They're gonna be tough. It is a new conference.
Yeah, put that on the radar. Let's do Texas next week as one of the teams.
Sounds good, fellas. Fun hang. Y'all have a great weekend.
That's Brian Edwards, our Vegas Insiders. We'll be back with Michael Bruntz. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We are joined now by one of our favorites. Good guy overall, Millard North guy. So you know his word is his bond, as he would tell Ryan Christopherson. We got Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7. What's up, buddy?
How you guys doing?
It's good. Sometime you'll have to explain to me what it feels like to be well liked, because even our other guests bring you up unsolicitedly, and it's always positive. I'm like, God, that must be nice. Like I wonder what it's like to have people kind of genuinely like you.
Who is it? The checks must have cleared.
Well, BC's frugal. I don't think he's coming off any money over there, Bruntzy.
No, it's good to be liked. I need to do like a Hollywood Hulk Hogan heel turn sometime just to keep things interesting.
Well, if you ever go Wolfpack, I don't know, man.
NWA?
Yeah, Bruntzy, we probably couldn't chit-chat much.
Yeah, so what are you guys talking about? Ravi, did you see Bo Jackson Day in Kansas City's on Saturday, by the way? Don't yell at me.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna, I'll go down, and nobody calls him one of the greatest baseball players of all time, so I'm fine with that.
So,
are you going?
I'm preoccupied on Saturday.
I sent he and one of our colleagues a TikTok of one of Bo Jackson's at bats, and he was sitting
where he hits a missile, by the way.
Yeah, it's like he stood on the edge of the infield, just threw it into the bleachers. Like that's how hard he hit it.
The exit velo had to be like 118. It was incredible.
And so it was funny listening to the broadcasters, because during the at bat, they're like, here's Bo Jackson. He's only hitting 258, and he's striking out about 1 out of every 2.8 at bats. And I could see if it was 1 out of every 4 or something like that,
mm-hmm.
but 1 out of every 3, and then he hits a line shot. And so I sent it to the guys, and I was like, and one of them is a diehard Royals fan, and I'm like, can you imagine if this was like 2024? They would be losing their mind over these strikeouts to home run ratios. It's like they're traumatized over 2.8. I was like, you guys haven't seen anything.
Can I introduce you?
Good season.
Right? I say 2.8. God, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, he's only putting the ball in play, man.
And I think it was the Homer. No, they were on the road because they were in the Powder Blues. I was going to say, I think it was the Homer broadcast, and they were kind of poo-pooing Bo striking out too much.
He's got good power. I could maybe see 1 out of every 4, but 1 out of 2.8 ain't going to cut it.
Welcome
that was in the All-Star game when Ronald Reagan was in the box, right? And they're talking to him, and Bo Jackson hits that home run, and Reagan kind of goes, "Ooh," like it's just like sound like, "Whoa."
Old Ronnie, way past his prime with an ooh moment. Ooh.
I like that one.
I almost made a joke that probably would have got me kicked off the air. Bruntz, I'm going to change the subject. I asked DB a question, and I'm curious your thoughts. Out of the 3 guys that we got some recruiting news on in the last, few days, we'll take Tapu, who decommits from Oregon State. We've got Merritt, who commits to Alabama. and you've got Latif, who affirms his commitment to Nebraska. Out of those three guys, if you had to, if all else being equal, if you had to put a bet on it, which of those guys ends up at Nebraska?
I would say immediate. I would say Latif. I would say Tapu, and then I would say Merritt in that order. I mean, I'm obviously well aware of the video where he kind of declined to talk about his commitment status to Nebraska.
Why obviously, Bruntsy?
Well, it's my company.
Company man.
Yeah,
company man.
I was just curious. I mean, like, where would you get that from?
Yeah. But I mean, it was interesting though, right? Like it
was a little weird.
Just gotta say yes. But no, I mean, I think.
Well, as we've learned from Jim Schlossnagle, sometimes it's not as easy as giving the simple answer.
There's some history there, though.
Yeah. Yes means yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I would probably say in that order. I think that's it. Merritt's an interesting one. Like I know that he has said repeatedly that when he was done, he was done. But there was legitimate back and forth there, I think, in his mind and kind of what he wanted to do. And I hear the kind of hand wringing right now about, Nebraska's class and, what momentum there is or isn't and that kind of thing. But I mean, Merritt's kind of a guy I just wonder, like, if Nebraska really strings together a good start to the season, I wonder if that picture changes at all. Like there's absolutely no reporting or intel behind that, but I always wonder with guys who are truly torn about where they're going. I always wonder if something like that early in the season can maybe kind of give them second thoughts. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side of that, what if Alabama season doesn't start off great? The first season not under Saban, like that's certainly in the discussion. I do wonder though. Let's say Nebraska does start out well. That maybe helps Nebraska with a lot of recruits. Does it possibly hurt them with Latif? I mean, if he looks at Dylan Raiola and he's balling out, and you go, maybe I'm not going to play for my first couple of years. Like, do you think that hurts Nebraska with a quarterback in this class, whether it's Latif or anybody else, if they do get off to a hot start?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I mean, I think it probably depends on other options as well.
Wouldn't that be a nice problem to have?
I mean, I think I think Nebraska would be okay with having to find out what that looks like.
Oh shoot, man, Rayola's playing well. We may not get Latif.
Yeah,
I think there'd be a lot of TJ who.
That would be a conversation they would probably
be willing to have.
They'd be willing to entertain.
It's a real thing, though, right? I mean,
if you pencil him in as a 3-year starter, yeah.
I mean, I think that's a legitimate conversation that maybe you have to have if you have to have it. But I mean, when he made his decision to commit to Nebraska, I mean, I think Nebraska was by far his strongest opportunity. Not only with kind of who was recruiting him, but also the way that Nebraska's recruited him. I mean, they really identified him and went all in on him. Glenn Thomas did. So I think that stuff matters. He's actively recruiting for Nebraska. He has been for a little while. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I mean that would be an interesting development for Nebraska if they all of a sudden had to worry about those things. But I don't know. I think Nebraska still is a really good option for him.
So let me ask you something, because we almost never talk about this in terms of offensive linemen because you need so many. But I think they got 17 or 18 linemen on their roster that are sophomores, redshirt freshmen, or freshmen. That's not all that inviting either, right? It's like, unless you're just because what do you say? Well, these guys aren't very good. We need you. Like, it's a little easier to see at quarterback, but I also get I can play 5 of these guys at a time, but Nebraska stockpiled quite a bit of youth.
It's funny, like in the camps this summer, they had a lot of Nebraska's offensive linemen were out helping with the camps and stuff like that, and they're really big on the togetherness, and they go together as a group. Like it's visually striking when you see like 15 offensive linemen just like moving in a pack down the field.
It's what they do.
You get a good sense of like, okay, this room is really stocked, and what Nebraska has done a good job of, I think, on both sides of the ball on the lines, is they've got the tiers set up. Got guys like Ty Robinson and Hutmaker that have been through it, are your veteran guys on that side of the ball. On the offensive side, you've got Scott, you've got Ben Hart. Prohaska's been around forever. Mazuka is an older guy. Even Lutovsky, we don't even talk about. He's been around for 4 years. You've got that first tier of veterans, and then you've got like the next guys kind of waiting in the wings that I think they feel pretty good about. Offensive line especially, I think they feel good about Sam Sledge and what he can ultimately be. They love Justin Evans and his versatility. And then, they signed last year, Gibson Pyle and Grant Bricks, who I think are kind of the future of that group too. Gunnar Gatula's, moved up the depth chart. So, yeah, it's not I'm guessing they probably don't lead with the current depth chart on the roster when they're having those discussions with recruits. But I think you have to appreciate the job that Matt Rule and his staff and the position coaches have done in kind of adding to those groups, and especially offensive line. They've taken massive classes the last 2 years because they kind of needed to. So I get the hand wringing when you see the 4 and 5 star offensive linemen committing elsewhere, but it's not like Nebraska has just been like letting that fall by the wayside the last 2 classes.
Yeah, and the cool thing, Bruntz, is we kind of went through this exercise. It was on the fly, so shocker, I didn't do a lot of prep, but you could see it with the D line as well, where you've got a Ty and a Nash, and you're thinking interiorly, okay, Van Poppel can slide in and get X amount of plays. Kai Wallen can come in and get blank, or Vincent Carroll Jackson, or after Cam Linhart is now bigger, so instead of just a situational pass rusher, we can play him X amount of downs because he's good against the run, and Princewell is ready to assume one of those premier rush spots with Jamari. Like, you can see kind of the sequential slotting in and the moving up pretty crystal clear if you take a look at the D line. And I love how you said you watch them move in packs, because I watched a couple of their support staff, or listened to them talk about how one of the things that they're trying to emulate with what Raiola does is the unity and consistency in which his room works with purpose. Like, so they're looking at the same thing you are. Like, what is it about that group where they're just like one cohesive unit? And it's something like that I think the D-line room picked up on, and I think other rooms are picking up on it as well.
Well, I think it helps. The continuity aspect helps a lot. Even going back to when Donovan Raiola was hired, that was one thing that linemen would talk about, that he would really stress, like, hang out together, do things together. Like, the togetherness aspect was something that I guess, I don't know if family is the right word, but like that type of bond is something that I think he worked really hard to kind of build. And I think you probably see the benefit of going into year 3 with him running that position group, because you haven't had to reset things. There's a culture in that group. You've got, like I said, you've got guys that are veterans and have been there for 3 years with him. You've got guys now that were recruited by him and are kind of in that mix as well. kind of coming into that and understanding what's being asked of them, and you've got your old guys enforcing it. I mean, that's kind of, I think what's been crystal clear is the way that it's been emphasized from the top down. I think I've asked a couple linemen kind of where that came from, and I think there's something in the background that I don't know if it's from Wisconsin or where that Donovan picked that up, but I know it's been something that has really been hammered home since the day he took over.
It's just weird to just listen to you run through a list of linemen and not mention names like Canuck, Jacob Hood, Turner Corcoran. Yeah, it's like, isn't that something? Just freely running through a list of names, and we'll see how productive they are. But this has to be the best we felt about having options in maybe I don't know, like 20 years.
It's been a minute.
I mean,
last year, do we not remember the spring game last year?
Yeah. Oh, we probably do. It's probably you probably forgotten.
We're trotting 6 linemen out there.
Yeah. No, I know. Like you almost weren't able to play real football because of it, which is kind of amazing. But it's interesting, like the defensive line thing. Like you can name 12 guys, probably 10 to 12 guys right now.
Yeah, just same as I didn't say guys like Judy or I mean, there's a lot of guys I left out.
Right. Too, I think, is another guy that's going to factor.
Good call.
But it's always kind of wide receivers are kind of this way too, where it's like we've got all this depth, and then it always kind of feels like you get to the fall, and if you were talking about 12 or 10, it's actually usually about 7 or 8. You know what I mean? Like that kind of happens, but it's been a long time on the line since. You were able to say that. I mean, you could have a guy come in and give you 10 really, really good snaps as kind of a third string guy or a situational guy. I mean, I don't remember Nebraska being able to mix and match as much, especially on the defensive line, as much as they're probably going to in a long, long time. I mean, they did that last year, even with kind of an incomplete picture some places, but this year's going to be kind of on another level. I think they want to do that.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Another guy we didn't mention was James Williams, who's probably going to factor in as well, as we saw him.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine being able to rotate Princewell, Sherman, Jamari Butler, James Williams. I mean, somebody's got to be able to get after the passer, I'm assuming, because
they got some options.
They got options.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can even put like Wright in that situation too. I mean, he's a guy that I always forget about.
So let's hold that thought, Bruntzy, because you and I were going to be president of that fan club. I think. No, I'm Bruntzy. I said this. I put him in the same category with BC. This was like 6 weeks ago. And I said, Javen Wright is one of those guys that if he plays well, changes this defense dramatically, because you don't have to take him off the field. We know what he can do in coverage, and he's much more physical, and he can run. If you let that guy play hash to hash as one of your interior guys, he changes you dramatically.
Yeah. Well, it felt like towards the end of the year, there was like that. You know how guys are in their careers where that light kind of comes on and the almost plays kind of turn into plays that are completed and made.
Yep.
Like it felt like towards the end of the season that kind of happened with him. And he's like even out of pads. I mean, he's kind of an all bus guy.
Yeah, he looks sensational.
Looks like a pro. So I'm eager to see what he can do. I mean, I'm glad he was finally healthy, because that was the one thing that seemed to be holding him back the most, was just all the crap he had to go through with his health through the first couple of years.
Yeah, I'll roll with Bullock and Wright on the inside. It's pretty good athleticism.
Yeah, they can move. They can definitely move.
Bruntz, I wanted to ask you about, I think there's been some consternation, some hand-wringing about some of the high-profile misses, whether it's Merritt whether it's Scholl. There's some other guys that have sort of fallen by the wayside as of late that are giving people, I think, a little bit of indigestion as they look at Nebraska's recruiting class. But, you've obviously been doing this a while, and you have really good familiarity in terms of what things look like. You probably have a better perspective outside of Nebraska than a lot of people that are kind of here locally. That's when you're aiming at guys that high profile, like this kind of just goes with the territory, right? You don't land most of those guys, or do you think there is any reason for concern?
A team that hasn't been to a bowl game in 7 years or 8 years doesn't generally bat a high percentage on those kinds of guys. I mean, that's legitimately something that Nebraska needs to overcome. I mean, the other thing too, I think that sometimes gets lost. I mean, for a lot of these really high-profile guys, I mean, they've been recruited for 2, 3, 4 years sometimes. I mean, like David Sanders. I mean, Nebraska got an official visit from him, and he's had high major offers for basically most of his high school career. And Matt Rule's only going into his second year. I think for a lot of those guys, Dawson Merritt's kind of this way a little bit, where Nebraska had to kind of work its way into the fight a little bit, just because they were still playing from behind, just based on time frames of recruiting. So, we've been saying it for a long time. I mean, I think if you can piece together some wins early in the season, I think that helps you with those types of players. I think Nebraska's got a ton to sell. I think this is a staff that's aggressive with recruiting and really works hard at it. So, I understand. I mean, when you see guys that officially visit or going elsewhere, that's not ideal. But like Damon kind of said this, where you got to remember, this is a program where 80 guys are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen right now.
Yeah.
There's kind of, I know they're not, super concerned about roster numbers over there, but that's also got to be. I don't see how this class is huge again. I just don't know how they do it. But I think Nebraska is going to get some commits here, in late June, early July. A lot of these guys that visited the past week are getting close to making decisions, and we'll see what happens. But
and you still got guys like Hammerbeck in Houston on the hook. Hopefully a guy like Malachi Goodman. I just don't know how big.
Some good players out there.
I just don't know how big they got a lot of young guys up front. A lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I've done this long enough that you can kind of anticipate when the hand wringing starts. But, I mean, I think Nebraska will get a few guys here in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, is it kind of, I don't know. For me, you brought up a good point with the, and we've got about a minute left here, Bruntz. You brought up a good point with the official visits of guys with where Nebraska's at as a program. I think there's a certain part of me that's like, hey, that's at this step in the process, that's a win to get some of these guys on campus, even if they don't commit. Is that a loser mentality, or does that kind of make sense to you? That's like, hey, part of the process is getting them here, and then maybe the next year after they start to win, some of those guys start committing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a loser mentality. I mean, I think it's a step-by-step thing, I think, you kind of swing a little bit bigger now that you've been there for a year. I think if you can, like I said, I mean, if you can build it a little bit more, I think there's still some strategy going on in terms of kind of how to use the spring game weekend as a big official visit weekend. I don't know if they've gotten a ton of bounce out of that, like maybe they'd hoped. Maybe that's something they look at, but I think even Broderick Scholl, I mean, getting into that recruitment when it was very much trending Auburn already. I mean, I think that was good for Nebraska. So,
that's a great call, BC, because his dad said he didn't expect it to be that tough. And I looked at him like he was just blowing smoke, and he basically reiterated, look, man, I don't even know you. I'm not saying that just to be saying it. It's his delivery, man. I knew he was being honest.
Yeah. So I think that even though you're coming up short on some of those guys, I mean, the fact that Nebraska was even in that conversation, they did a lot of work to get to that point, given kind of where the program is and at least the newness of Matt Rule to this job, which it still is in terms of the recruiting cycles for a lot of these kids.
That's Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7. Bruntz, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Those are guys. Thanks.
We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR, and Lincoln, and we're brought to you by Durkin Designs. You heard DB talking about them earlier. They're trying to get some things situated over at his house. I need to call him, too. I need a little cleanup, maybe a little maintenance. Whatever you need, though, they've got you covered. Paver patios, retaining walls, water or fire features, lighting, whatever you need. They've got a ton of experience making backyards look beautiful. Give them a call, 402-779-4444. That's 402-779-4444 to get Durkin Designs out to renovate your backyard or front yard, whatever yard space you got, they got you covered.
And the cool thing, he may show up early. Won't be late.
Like it. We like it. We like people that are on time.
2 for 2 being early.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
I was waiting on an HVAC guy for about 3 hours yesterday.
Yeah. Did he give you a big window, or they?
They did, and to be fair,
we'll be there anytime between 2 and 9.
So they told me between 1 and 4.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
They told me between 1 and 4, and then I will give them credit. They like do the text message like, hey, just so you know, like we are running a little behind today. We still have. I appreciated that.
Yeah,
that's why it was cool. And it was like 4:30. It wasn't bad. And I could work from home, whatever. It's not a big deal. But it was it's nice when they're on. It's nice when they're on time. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it'd been a hot couple days, so I knew it was dicey that they got me in anyway. So I appreciated it.
So are you a big thermostat fumble with the buttons guy?
Oh, I mess around with my thermostat all the time. Keep my house temperatures I want it.
Do you know the difference in our house?
What's that?
Over 365 days?
What's that?
Whether it's hot or cold. The number is the same.
68 degrees?
70.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the basement is incredibly cold.
Yeah, so that was the thing that he was telling me yesterday, because I was like, hey, because my thermostat's upstairs, so the sensor's upstairs. And I could put one downstairs, but yeah, I don't want to do it. And so it's a lot. There's a huge difference. There's like a 10, 12 degree difference. And he's like, yeah, okay, if you shut some of these vents over here.
Oh, that's what I need somebody to tell me.
Yeah, dude, he hooked me up. It was awesome. He was like, hey, shut some of these. It'll cool it off upstairs faster, and you'll be more pleasant down here. Because I was like, yeah, I'm always freezing down here, but I can't turn the air up. Otherwise, it's blazing hot upstairs. And so
send him over. I can do what I'm told. He just has to tell me which registers.
Yeah, he did. He was just like, hey, do these, and then you'll be good. And I did it, and by last night, I was like, oh, that's way better. He did tinker with a couple things on the actual unit. Make it better.
How many eye rolls do you think that I just got when I asked for somebody just to tell me which registers to close? Aren't you an adult? Yeah, I am, but guess what?
I'm not an HVAC expert. I don't know anything about that.
And I know when people are significantly smarter.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if you know more about I hire people for a reason to do the thing they're good at.
Unlike Tony, who told a fib this morning.
What'd Tony say?
Well, I said he was Team Ravi, and he goes, no, I'm just Team Right. Sometimes it's Ravi, sometimes it's you. I can't remember
the last time you were right.
I can't remember. It's like a 90-10 split. I feel like it's a tough bowling alley.
Well, like I said, it's a lot of people are Team Ravi.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
Me neither.
No, I did. So I asked Bruntz that question about loser mentality, right? Because I felt a little bad because I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about the guys they've missed on, right? I'm like, hey, they're in it. It was them and Auburn, and then them and Bama.
I'm with you. I think
it's a process. It's not a moral victory to me. It's this is the step in the process where they're at.
Although I do hate the comment, and I know why people say it. I do hate the comment. They just have to win.
It helps, obviously, right? Duh. Water's wet. What? Yeah.
But fundamentally, you have to carry yourself and do business in the meantime that gives you the best advantage to pull these things off while you're waiting to win.
Exactly. You have to put yourself in a place where you can take advantage of the opportunity that winning creates.
And I just think it's just overused. It's like I hear this with Christian a lot. It's like, well, he's just waiting for. He's not waiting for him to win.
Yeah.
It's not what it is. And sometimes it's even if let's say Tapu goes to Oregon State. Do you think that was about winning?
No.
So you just never know. It's easy to say that when it's Bama or Georgia or Ohio State. But for the other 90% of college football,
that's not why Nebraska.
And if it was about that, like, why do those guys even go out and recruit?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, why not just sit there and twiddle your thumbs until you, like, you know.
Hey, we'll see who falls to us and see if we can't, we win more.
Like the Lakers, just catching Dalton.
And there are some teams that win quite a bit and still have a different recruit.
I mean, Iowa's never recruited at a super high level. That's just not what they do.
And they win a ton.
Iowa State doesn't win as much as Iowa, but Iowa State, Kansas State, all those programs. None of them recruit at a super sexy level.
You know what? Would you humor me next week when we get B. Edwards on? Because we're going to move him to Wednesday. Apparently next week's a holiday?
Yeah, it's a short week.
Yeah, that's weird.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, holiday.
The only thing that matters for me
Drew
on a holiday when it's
Justin.
like that is I get to eat breakfast at a normal time.
Yeah.
Except so it won't be 4:30 or 5:30. I feel like I eat breakfast 3 times a week for dinner. Yeah.
Just live my life. Everything's short. You'll be fine.
My versatility in my menu is not
great.
No, I'm trying.
Well, I mean, I do. You know how I am. Like, I hyperfixate on one thing for a while, then I get sick of it, and I never want to eat it again, and then I move on to something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways I can
cook an egg.
Although yesterday,
or cook a sausage.
I hate saying this out loud because I did it on my own. I put again, I guess we're sticking to sports.
As always.
I did a huge chuck that I dry brined overnight.
Like knobloch?
Yep. Hockey, not baseball.
So like cut chuck?
And I put it in a crock pot. And how long it took me to get the crock pot out was we won't talk about because it is under several things.
Buried. Yeah.
But behind boxes of cereal, under disposable aluminum trays. But anyway, Mai got back she's working camp and she's staying, and so they wanted like Chipotle bowls, and I did like this Mexican thing with the chuck, and it came apart really, really easy. I ate it out of the bowl with shredded cheese. I bet you I at least ate a quarter of it.
You actually put it in the crock pot?
Yeah.
Because you never do that, do you?
Yeah, it drove me up the wall all day.
Yeah?
Oh. I mean, I went to go get Micah. There's just the two of us, and he's like, God, it smells amazing. I was like, God, I just don't want my clothes to smell like this. This sucks. Don't tell anybody there's a crock pot. It's got a big old dent in it. I didn't even know.
Sounds awesome.
But anyway, it was way good. And then we got on this whole Chipotle thing.
Yeah, a little Chipotle kick.
Yeah, but just because they're on social media all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I bet they wouldn't come in your house with a camera and see how many portions you're giving them.
You know, they also won't come in your place with a camera if you just give them the portions that you used to.
See, I don't go there, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't a ton.
It's all over like social media though.
Yeah,
I feel bad for all those places because who's working there?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean,
I drive around. I drove by my mom's the other day. She wasn't at home. There's a CVS that's closed on 108th and Fort. Like, how does CVS close?
Yeah, I don't know. They're doing something to the one on 132nd and Center, too. I don't know if they're redoing it or if it closed, too.
Did I tell you about the Wendy's just going away on 84th? You drove by there.
Oh, you did tell me about that because you were trying to go.
There's no signs on there.
Just poof, gone.
Like 2 months ago, my coach was just telling me he got 6 patties for $8. And now you're closed?
It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I should have been a farmer, raised my own food.
Yeah, there's still time.
No.
No.
Number one, I know nothing about working hard, and number two, I don't want to go into debt just to eat.
You got that nice backyard. You can start farming. You can start growing some stuff.
Yeah.
I know you're big into vegetables, so that probably makes sense.
Yeah. Staple. Can't wait for the old veggies.
You got room?
Did you grow cows and pigs?
You got room for like a little chicken coop back there?
No, they make too much noise.
You don't want pigs, man. Pigs are nasty animals.
The majority of your work is done obviously outside, but it's done when it's really hot. So, I mean, that's totally not in your wheelhouse.
It is. The heat doesn't bother me at all. I watched TV outside yesterday.
It was nice. It wasn't bad outside yesterday.
With a sweatshirt on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
It's better than smelling the crock pot.
It's flickering. Just got to stay on.
Whatever the hell it is.
I'll tell you that much.
whatever the hell it is.
Jerks.
What we do?
I just feel like making light. I'm sorry, I can't afford to eat out every day like you do. Or buy bad processed food.
Well, there's that too. Hey, it's not going to be bad though? Today at 5 p.m. Hurrdat Sports team is dropping.
It's going to be fantastic.
The Becoming Baylor documentary. Drafted last night. The crew was at his draft party, going number 30 to the Celtics. Great fit, great organization. Maybe the best place. I know they loved him, but didn't think he'd be there at 30, so I know they were over the moon. Make sure you check that out on all our Hurrdat Sports social channels. It will be out at 5 p.m. today. Shout out to the Hurrdat Sports team for getting that done. Coming up next, we do have a little NBA draft talk with Matt Powers.
As we welcome you back live, the Pillar Exterior Studio, it's Hurrdat Sports Radio, live on ESPN 590, ESPN Tri-Cities. Let's talk a little NBA draft as we welcome in Matt Powers, who is the editor-in-chief, the EIC, the head man in charge of Swish Theory. Matt, good morning, man. How are you?
Yeah, morning. Thanks so much for having me. Fun, exciting night last night.
Yeah,
happy to chat draft.
It's interesting. I kind of want to start with I love the fact, and I know you do your big board, and you've got through 40, and it's very thorough, right? So if you haven't gone to Swish Theory, make sure you do. I asked this to my co-host this morning, why do you think it is when we were describing this draft that we get into the high ceilings, the low floors, the high floors, and it centers around this, well, they aren't this, right? And I'm thinking to myself in my head, whatever you fill in the blank is, we've seen some guys play at a really, really high level in the NBA, and the last thing that we talk about is their athleticism. Most recently, a guy like Jason Tatum, right? We almost use that as a criticism, and all he does is get buckets and win. Did you look at this draft and think that was too much of the focus and not enough about skill level?
Yeah, I definitely am more skill-oriented of an analyst, I would say. I think there's a lot of, right, as you said, fill-in-the-blank prospects who there's a nice idea behind them, and maybe if you fill out their, athleticism the right way, they pan out. It's kind of how I feel about Zachary Riza-Shea, even at the top of the draft, where he is a lot of promise. He looks like a wing-sized, shooter, but the results haven't really... he hasn't really produced that much. He can't, really dribble. Okay, defender. So I definitely had some puzzling responses to the draft picks yesterday. Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I like kind of what you do is you like guys like, KJ Simpson or Tristan Newton, where people, and maybe that's kind of what you're saying, where it's it's not necessarily about elite athleticism. I like production. I do like skills. You think the NBA misses the mark on that, or will there be a place for that here eventually in this draft?
Yeah, the second round, there's a lot of guys left that I think would be high producing pretty quickly. Like KJ Simpson, you mentioned right away, just already a very strong basketball player. We saw Baylor Shireman go at the end of the first round to the Celtics. He's another guy who just very reliably spaces the floor. Not the best athlete, but Tristan Newton also we saw how he works on the national championship level for the UConn Huskies. So he's someone, put him in a similar role right away. So that he can perform that. I would agree with that.
Did you get let's start with a couple of the head scratchers. Did it start for you at 9 with Edey, or was it something before that?
So I love Edey. He was actually my number one pick. Yeah. I think he's a historic outlier as far as production in the low post. So I was thrilled with that landing spot in particular. I was really surprised by Charlotte Hornets taking Tijan Salon. I think he's someone who if you watch him play, he's really exciting. He gets dunks, threes, and steals, which is always fun. But just his level of awareness on the court's not great. I don't think he's a good basketball player right now. And they definitely need more of those. So That was the biggest early head scratcher for me.
What do you think that Minnesota's trying to do with Dillingham? Maybe it's their half-court offense, maybe it isn't, but playing with another ball-dominant guy like Edwards.
Yeah, I love Dilly. I was definitely surprised by the trade. I liked his fit better in San Antonio than Minnesota, but I mean, he's so talented of a scorer. I think you'll find a way to maybe cover up for his defensive flaws and just have him as a plug-and-play guy. I really like Terrence Shannon Jr., who they took late in the first round. I think he's maybe might contribute as much as Dillingham in the first year, because he's also just a high-producing player who's a crazy athlete, can play strong defense right away, can make some tough shots. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how they incorporate those players.
What do you think happened, and maybe it's just fit, but what do you think happened with Dalton Connect? I mean, I'm a Lakers fan, so I'm ecstatic because we could always use some shooting, but, like, what do you think happened with Connect?
I think it's just age and concerns over athleticism. He's a good straight line athlete. He can dunk, but I think on the defensive end, there's a chance he's targeted pretty quickly. He's also just like an okay passer for someone that touches the ball as much as, you'd want him as a spot up guy. You need to have some counters. He didn't really take that many shots off the dribble. But he's a really good spot up shooter. You can put him out there right away and he'll give you, 15 points just spotting up from three. So definitely a lot worse picks you could have made there.
Who do you think, and for me, I think Reed Shepherd comes to mind. Who do you think benefits the most from fit relative to what their production is? Like, who do you think landed in the best spot that could best play to their strengths?
I really like Devin Carter for the Kings. I'm a big fan of his in general. He's another just tough-nosed day one player. I think he doesn't have to create as much offense there. He can just play off De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and provide a lot of defensive coverage for those two also. So I think he's gonna thrive for them. Obviously, Zach Edey in Memphis, I think, is a perfect fit too, where you have a help side rim protection from Jaren Jackson Jr. He's gonna be setting screens for Ja Morant and creating incredible amount of space for Ja to operate in. I'm really happy about that fit. So,
is it? I was going through this with our friends on the chat group yesterday, where Memphis may be one of those teams where we thought, wow, that window was supposed to be wide open. It's amazing how bad they were last year due to injuries, but now Memphis is back in some sort of relevance discussion.
Yeah, I think they're back. They have, and even though they had kind of a lost season, I think they still found some diamonds in the rough there with G.P. Jackson, another player I was really high on, who's going to be a solid rotation piece for them, despite only being 19 years old. And Vince Williams Jr., another really good role player that they got for nothing in the draft. I think they have the depth pieces figured out kind of through last year, and now that their stars are back, which I'm including Zach Edey in that, I think they'll be really dangerous again. Yeah.
Talking with Matt Powers from Swish Theory. He is the editor-in-chief. Really consummate website, and it's good stuff. If you're in Atlanta, Matt, what do you do with that backcourt based on what you think they're trying to accomplish with their first round pick?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd assume for the number one pick, you want to start them right away. I think there might be some growing pains right there as far as you already have kind of a not the best defensive backcourt with Trae Young, and DeJounte Moore, I think, is a little maybe overrated on that side. And then you got Reese Shea, who kind of loses his man here and there a little bit. So you're really relying on your defensive bigs to clean up the mistakes, I think. I'm kind of puzzled what they're going for, honestly. Not the pick I would have made.
Let me give you another, see if you can help me with this puzzle. And I share a household with somebody who loves the G League and follows basketball in general, and he's only 15. My son was pretty disappointed. I liked Holland. He does not like Holland in Detroit. It doesn't seem like you do either. Is he the best player that could end up in such a bad fit it doesn't translate? Kind of the opposite of the question I asked you earlier.
Yeah, he was actually number 3 on my board. So I like the swing on talent, but the fit is definitely a confusing one because they have you want to put shooters around Cade Cunningham, and he shot, 28% from three, adding him next to Azor Thompson, who's also sub 30% from three. Jalen Duren's not a shooter. So they're really just going with the take all the talent, figure it out later approach. They added a new shooting coach over the offseason, and Fred Benson, who did some kind of legendary shooting improvements with Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones and Pelicans with the New Orleans Pelicans. So interesting to see if he can kind of fix some of these broken shots for the Pistons here.
Who do you like as the best value coming off today in the second round?
I was really surprised Kyle Filipowski fell.
He has to be so upset coming back for that.
Yeah. That's really tough look. But he's such a to have a skilled 7-footer who can dribble, pass, shoot, and even defend a little bit. I think that's a rare player. So whoever gets him in the second round that'll be a steal for sure.
All right, Matt, let me get you out of here on this. Do you feel like the Knicks have constructed their roster in such a way, especially with OG signing the big deal, that they immediately become a challenge to Boston?
Well, I'm a Mets fan, so I was more than happy with that Mikal Bridges deal.
Hey, you stockpile. Hey, what are you going to do with all those unprotecteds?
I don't know. It's going to be fun as a draft fan to follow that along. But, yeah, I don't know if they'll be challenging the Celtics, but, they'll be good. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with Julius Randle specifically to see if he still fits into their plans. But, yeah, they're going to be a dangerous team. Definitely, if not in that top tier, the second tier below.
Is there a newcomer you like in the East to establish their presence?
I'm pretty. Let's see.
Maybe the Pacers. I wouldn't call them new, but a healthy Pacers team is interesting.
Yeah. They were the second best team in the league compared to how they challenged the Celtics. You know, only more exciting things from them. Yeah, that'll be good to watch.
Hey, fantastic stuff, Matt. Appreciate the time. Enjoy the day 2.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
That's Matt Powers from Swish Theory, and that is another show on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We'll be back tomorrow with a fantastic, fun Friday. Don't you dare miss it.